Welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm your host, Tam McGee. We got our third guest of the day, Mr. Parish President of Lafourche Parish, Mr. Archie Chasson. Thank you for being on the program. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Tanner.
I think we can do like a year-to-date wrap-up, but before we get into that, marsh fires have been a hot topic from everybody around Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish. I think we have some video of some fires and cutoff last night.
Yep.
What's going on? We're not taking a whole lot of time, but what's going on with this?
Yeah, this is just one of those instances where we're dealing with stuff we never thought we'd have to deal with, right? I think the drought has a little bit to do with this, but the last few fires, like this one here in Cutoff, the one along Highway 90 that caused some road closures for us last week, and I think the ones that are dealing with right now are actually man-made. A lot of these things are marsh management tools. The landowners use them to get the underbrush out, get the salt nutrients back up and running. In some cases, they're lighting on fire to run stuff out for hunting purposes. So we've seen it year after year. I think just the drought conditions have worsened it. The fog issues and the cold weather we've had the last couple of weeks undoubtedly have had something to do with it. Smoke reacts differently in fog and cold weather. So it's caused a few issues, but I know, we're talking to President Dub, we're talking to our local fire chiefs who are all under control with it, right? Part of the road right now is closed off between Lafourche and Terrebonne as they're bringing in pumps to kind of flood out one of the spots. This fire in Cutoff is completely contained. It's all surrounded by water. It doesn't threaten any homes. And of course, the one along Highway 90 last week was the same thing. It's not threatening anybody. It's just a little inconvenience for our drivers and those of us who have asthma and some allergy issues. Of course, the smoke does some harm to it. But we'll get through it like we always do and just keep pushing.
Absolutely. And look, I think it's one of those things that's unusual, but, we can kind of put the conspiracy theories on Facebook to bed. I think it's just one of those things that happens every once in a while that we're having to deal with. But there's no burn ban, correct?
There is none.
Telling people to maybe be careful with their fireworks for Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, still really dry out there. Again, the rain we thought we were going to get this weekend looks like it's dwindling down, so we're not going to get a whole lot. But we kind of figured the burn ban was going to be lifted. We got a little bit of rain. We knew they wanted to have the bonfires in the river and of course fireworks. So we knew it was going to be lifted, and the parishes were going to opt out. So it's a good thing. As long as people are safe with it and don't get too crazy with it, we're not going to have any issues. And that's just what we encourage people to do. Just watch what you're doing. Keep it in burn pits, keep it in fire barrels or something contained so it doesn't get out of control.
We appreciate you talking about it and kind of updating us on where we are. Let's talk about some more stuff of what Lafourche Parish has done over the last year. I think you brought a slides for us to look at. Where are we doing? I know we got some pumps. We're looking at a photograph of a portable pump grant. What's going on, Archie?
Yeah, so this, and I'm going to throw a little bit of credit to you here, Tanner. This is some stuff from the Louisiana Watershed Initiative after the 2016 floods, which really didn't impact Lafourche and Terrebonne, but we were in that kind of realm of possibility for some possible funding, and we've been really good at getting money from it. So we got a little over $1.9 million to buy 8 portable pumps. These are going to be emergency backup pumps for us in the event we have an issue with a pump station or we have an issue where we may not be able to have enough pumping capacity in a particular area due to severe rainfall. We're able to get these portable pumps. So they're stationed at our field offices right now. They're easy to hook onto, easy to set up for our field office guys and our mechanics. And we're going to be able to move a substantial amount of water with these things. So there's 424s, 430-inch pumps. So because of that program, we're going to have some additional pumping capacity in the parish that we didn't have before. And something I think is going to bail us out in the future as we see just more intense rainfalls and just because of the drainage issues that we all see, rising tides and sea levels, it helps to have that extra capacity.
You bring that up, and I think one of the things I've watched you in your first term do as well is really using the state system to get money to do these kind of things. A lot of the candidates for parish presidents for Terrebonne, I told them, you need to be active with the state. You need to be engaged because this is the stuff with a parish president like you that you can actually do and it'll make a big difference in your community.
Yeah, and look, I know it gets old when we go beat on your door, or we would beat on your door, but the delegation working together with our council, the parish president, the governor's office, it's really paid off. And I think a lot of these slides that we're going to see all have some sort of state funding tied to it. And I talked about this today at the Port Commission meeting. It's all about those partnerships. We can't do it alone in Lafourche and Terrebonne. You guys can't do it alone from the state standpoint. So it takes all of us kind of working together. And a big part of that is this Butch Hill pump station. It's one of the first ones that we've really designed. It's taken us a few years to work through the design, but again, it's partnerships with the state, some of our local dollars. A lot of it is going to be working in conjunction with the levee district and some conveyance improvements they're doing around the racing area. But this is a huge pump station. It's going to be able to actually consolidate a couple of older pump stations into one new one. Going to drain about 12,000 households across the Racing Prairie area and behind Oster St. Anne, just south of Highway 90. So this is the first kind of the state-of-the-art one that we got to put our hands on, using new hydraulic analysis and those standards, where we're not just telling an engineer that you have $2 million, go build a pump station, right? We're just sticking a hose in the ground, trying to move water to make people happy. This is actually thinking 25, 30 years down the road, not having to touch this station for a long time, not having a whole lot of maintenance, and actually being able to move water more efficiently and less costly. So it's going to be a good project for us.
And the new pump stations too, I mean, when you really see the technology that are in them, and how the real-time analysis you can do, and you can, I mean, as opposed to like some Cajun dude going up there and just look at the, like,
it's time to kick it on, right?
Man, we got to kick it on and see what happens. It's really changed, I mean, the way we do all this stuff.
And Dylan Baroni, who's our public works director, did a presentation last night, kind of our wrap up to the council for our last meeting of the year. And we're moving toward a SCADA system. So now the residents will be able to see a frontward facing portal next year. We will actually be able to operate our pump stations from cell phones, right? We'll be able to turn them on and off. We'll be able to see oil pressure, water level on the inside of the system, on the outside of the system. They'll all have floats on them and automatic kick on and kicks off. We'll still have a person out there doing checks on it while they're running, but it won't be the old, well, let's eyeball it and let's pump it down real low before rain comes and just let it fill back up. We're moving water a whole lot smarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see both from the efficiency from it. I think also the public transparency piece of it too, that you hear so much stuff, Facebook commentary, because people don't know and they fill in the gaps with wrong information. Having the ability to be like, no, like go look on the website. You can see what this thing is doing. It's huge. Well, we're going to keep talking about pumps. We'll be back in a second to keep talking about all the big changes in Lafourche Parish. We'll be right back with Parish President Archie Chasson.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Parabon General Health Systems, modern technology and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm your host, Tanner McGee. We're here with Archie Chasson. We're talking about everything going on in Lafourche Parish. We left on the break talking about one of the new pump stations. What else is going on?
So I kind of continue to focus on drainage. Kind of the next big project for us is looking at the Aladal community off of 308 and Raceland. Again, partnerships with the state through the statewide flood control program through DOTD. This area saw some flooding back in late 2009, early 2010. Just a very inadequate drainage structure, LMI community. So we've been working with our engineer, All South Consulting, based out of Houma and Raceland to really look at how do we fix that area. And it's been a multifaceted project. A lot of the interior drainage work has been done over the last several years through both contractors, our in-house staff, and Public Works. But now we're on to that last phase. We got the second phase was jack and boring some new culverts underneath the railroad tracks, which was, if you've ever dealt with a railroad, is very intense. It got even more intense because beyond just the regular Amtrak traffic that comes through that area to connect on to Lafourche Crossing, the new Genesis oil facility is basically right next door. So we're bringing in crude oil by rail into that facility as well. So we had a few hiccups there, but we're hopefully going out to bid the end of January. With this project, it's been a long time coming. Stevie and his team have worked really hard on it, patching up some final dollar issues, right? Moving some internal funding to make the project happen. We saw some price increases due to inflation, so that'll be a project that'll happen right after the first of the year. Should be under construction somewhere in March, and then hopefully fully under construction after that. And as we work down the Bayou, we're looking at the new Valentine Pontoon Bridge. If you've ever driven down to the island, you've seen that old rusty hunk of junk that's been closed for about 6 or 7 years. Our good friend, Representative Bagala, before he passed away, really kicked off this project and got a commitment from then Secretary Wilson for the first $1 million on the project. The parish then went out and bonded out some of our road sales tax district dollars to make up the balance. During the whole process, while GIS was working on the design, we got a raise grant from the federal government through the IIJA bill through the Biden administration for about $2.5 million. So that was, we clawed back our $2.5 million that we had coming out locally that we're going to do some other stuff with. But this is going to be a really cool project. It'll be a little bit bigger of a bridge, a little bit more sturdy. Fire trucks will be able to cross it, which has been a huge issue for the fire chief. And while the daily commuter traffic on this bridge isn't all that great, the issue that comes in, it's an emergency preparedness and a safety issue. If we're trying to evacuate people out due to a hurricane, or there's some type of serious accident on LA 1 or 308, it's about an 18-mile round trip for somebody to make a trek back to Lockport or down to La Rose to be able to cross the Bayou and have to come back up or down either way. So this will be key to, we'll have a halfway point in between those two bridges. Speaking of bridges, the other, while I was down at the Port Commission meeting today, was this Airport Connector Road Bridge, something that
very familiar with this project
that you worked on for a lot of years. We got an infra grant through the federal government, a big commitment from state capital outlay, and then the parish and the port both put up about $4.5 million to make the $36 million project happen. And give a quick photo credit to Bollinger Shipyard. This was something they took a few weeks ago as they pulled one of their new cutters going out to sea trials through the bridge. So you can see the work going up. The columns are going up. They lifted the span deck into place about a week ago. A week and a half ago. So we hope to have this bridge kind of open in early 2023, or 2024, excuse me, maybe mid 2024. The roadway is well underway to connect 3235 to LA1. And of course, the airport road going into the airport is pretty well sound. So it's a pretty cool project. And again, through partnerships, we can do a lot of things. You know, the parish and the Port Commission couldn't have built a $36 million lift span bridge on its own. So maybe the roadway and maybe a little bit of the bridge, but because of the state and the infra grant, putting that big project together was huge. And Joe and his team at Pisciola and Associates have done a really good job in designing it and watching the construction as we've gone through. So it's been a good project.
This is a project that we've been kind of working on in the state for a while and trying to get it going. And I'm glad that's finally kind of seen the fruition. It's fun to see projects that you had some kind of participation in actually happen.
That's right. That's right.
And I think it's one of these great projects too. It's good for the economy. It's good for the residents. And I think it's be a great thing to where you start connecting airports and ports, and I mean it's this kind of stuff we need to be doing everywhere in the state.
It's going to open up. That place is an enterprise zone as well inside the airport. So open up that economic development opportunity for Chet and the Port Commission to have some improved access to it, right? Because before you were just taking that little stretch of 308 from cutoff, and it was a tricky ride if you weren't familiar, if you were coming in from out of town. Everybody who works for Chevron flies out of that heliport now, no matter where you're coming from or where you're going. You all have to come through Galliano. So it's going to be a safety improvement for us, which will be a good thing.
Absolutely. And like you said, people out of town, it's, to me, when they see new infrastructure, it makes us look good as a community. Right. You have people in, now talk about looking good as a community, changing directions a lot. New public dump site?
Yeah. So one of the big complaints we had after the hurricane, and something we're still seeing is people dumping and people just not having a place to bring large items or large bulky trash. We have the trucks that run the parish, and River Birch does a really good job, but we're trying to figure out an alternative for people. So we actually kind of stole this idea from Jefferson Parish. They have one out in Metairie. It's going to be a big concrete based ramp that you're going to be able to drive on. You'll actually back up to a dumpster and throw your waste items in there. We'll have a spot for white goods if you have a refrigerator or a freezer. And as you can see by that depiction, we'll have a spot for green waste that will chip or burn at the end of the day. But it'll be a place where if you don't want to wait for it to sit in your front yard or you just want to get rid of it, it'll be a cool little spot. So we're planning to build it on Highway 182 next to the shooting range. We have the big piece of property next to where Craig Shooting Range is. That was the old parish dump at one point, believe it or not, back before you and I were even thought of. We're having a few issues trying to figure out where the old dump site was. We're potholing and we keep finding garbage. So we're kind of working down the road of maybe an alternative site or trying to figure out a way to dig out some of the garbage and backfill it and working through DEQ with that. So that'll be a conversation we have in the next year, but hopefully a project that we'll see we'll be driving on before the end of 2024.
And I think it's great too, because a lot of that stuff, especially like the wide dimes, nothing makes me more angry than driving down the road and seeing a bayou in a refrigerator and people just using our bayous or using as their own public dump instead of having a specific spot. So I think it's a really great project.
And illegal dumping, was a little bit of an issue before the hurricane, but it's been prolific after. And I don't know why. We tell people you can sit on the side of the road. It may take us a couple weeks to get to, but we'll get it. Don't go dump it in a bayou. Don't go dump it next to an old bridge. Don't go dump it on some dead end road that we didn't have to go pick up. So I think this will do a lot of good in a curbing that.
And I think they try to find places where Terrebonne and Lafourche kind of come together. That way, like the parish won't know whose responsibility it is.
We'll fight over for a little while, right?
Fight over for a little while. All right, we'll be back with a little bit more with Parish President Archie Chasson here in a second.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology, and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Welcome back to Bayou Time. Your host, Tanner McGee. We're here with Parish President Archie Chasson. Archie, let's get back into it.
Yep.
All the projects y'all been working on, and I think we're moving to the Grand Bayou floodgate.
Yeah, so coastal's been a huge part of us as well, especially after Hurricane Ida with the land loss, and part of it has been not only Reggie's floodgate, what's known as the Reggie Bagala floodgate, which I think for the first time in recorded history allowed the people of Pontiac not to have water in their yards for a tropical event, which is huge. You couple that with things like the Coastal Center and the investments we've partnered with Nicholls State University on to help get that program up and running. That building broke ground a couple of weeks ago in a big ceremony, so that's going to be a huge hub for applied research. Lacey Melanson, I know, is going to do a great job as the director there, like she's done with CTAC. So we're really excited to see that project come around. But in Grand Bayou, we're working on a new freshwater reintroduction project. A lot of people have heard about the diversions in the river and how we get fresh water into spaces to combat rising salinity levels. So this will be a cool project where we're taking water from the intercoastal and forcibly pumping it down Grand Bayou through Reggie's floodgate and hopefully going to knock the salinity levels back down all the way past Catfish Lake. So it's going to be a huge project. There's a lot of partnership projects happening in that area with ConocoPhillips, Apache, Ducks Unlimited. And you can see what Grand Bayou looked like, right after Hurricane Ida. The canal was plugged, allowed salinity levels really to rise because there was no fresh water happening. So working with Weeks Marine, we went in there and dredged it out, and that's what it looks like today if you took a ride in it. So a huge improvement for that area and a huge amount of fresh water that we're going to be running through that particular spot. So you couple that with those partnerships with Conoco, Apache, Ducks Unlimited, Chevron, the port, we're going to have some huge progress happening there. And looking toward what we're doing quality of life wise inside the levee system, looking at recreation. We made the agreement and the commitment to South Lafourche to start turfing fields. The city of Thibodaux has done it through some partnerships with us over the last few years. So we really wanted to get that into South Lafourche. A lot of those kids are playing travel ball from down there now, and they're playing on turf fields when they travel. So we wanted to give them that same experience back home. So we've been able to do that. Got the first two done last year. We're going to move on to the next two this year. We're actually going to break ground on the Lafourche Parish Livestock Complex and Rodeo Arena next week. It's going to be about a $3.6 million facility. We'll have a covered rodeo arena that we can do horse shows, livestock shows in, as well as a new section of barn for some additional livestock showing spaces. 4-H and FFA kids are a huge part of our community, as well as the rodeo community that we have. So having something that's covered now, we hope is going to be an economic development draw for us, bringing some bigger, better rodeos. The Roping Club does a really good job there. So we're excited to see that. Kind of staying in that central part, talking about recreation. A few years ago, we opened up the Lockport Community Center, which is on Highway 1 when you come through town, part of a CDBG grant, believe it or not, after Gustav and Ike. Mm-hmm. So this was about a 10-year in the making project, started under Ms. Randolph. Mr. Cantrell got most of the construction done, and we came in at the very end. But last year, we were very excited to be awarded a land and water conservation grant, which is made up of Go Mesa revenue now, coming in from the offshore royalties. We matched that, so we're going to about a $1.2 million extension to the back, a couple of new ball fields, some new soccer fields, and a pond. So we just got digging the pond a few months ago. ago, moving that dirt around to kind of level off that area. And then probably January-ish, we'll go out to bid on the ball fields and the actual start construction with light poles. So our kids from that central part of the parish will have some updated stuff to work off of too.
Absolutely. Y'all done a lot with rec, and I've learned from my own kids, you have to have the turf fields for the travel ball tournaments. It's what's kind of the industry standard. Right. Y'all doing a lot of other stuff, though. I'm looking at economic development, and there's some other things going on in the parish as well.
Yeah, we've had a couple of large economic development wins over the last couple of years. We started out when we first got in, right when COVID was happening with Cairo Foods right here in Bayou Blue. They were looking at building a new facility in another parish, and we said absolutely not. Not only did we not want to lose those jobs, but I really didn't want to lose a business the first 7 months that we were in office, right? That just looked really bad. So, we formed our old industrial development board with some new folks. The first person I went to was Mr. Ben Bordelon. His grandfather, Mr. Donald Bollinger, was the chairman back in the 60s when it was created. When we saw a lot of the first industrial development happening in Lafourche, and said, look, Ben, you got to do this for us, right? Your grandfather did it. We really did some good successes. So he agreed to come back, coupled that with Miss Marguerite, Dr. Clune, Mr. Dan Duplantis from the sugar mill, and Miss Melanie Bruce, who's a local realtor, having that real estate kind of picture to it, and got Cairo to stay. So they're doing about a $35 million expansion back there.
I think that's one of the things that gets lost in economic development. We're always looking to try to bring new companies in. It's actually easier and better to try and keep the ones you have and get them to expand and to do other things. I mean, it's really much easier to build off of what you know and do than trying to always be throwing money for hoping to get a company over here. So keeping Cairo, letting them expand is a huge win.
Yeah, and it took us a little bit of outside the box thinking to get them to stay here. A little bit of a tax incentive program, getting those other districts that were involved in this to understand that if they left, you got 20 mills of zero, right? And that was going to be a big hit for those guys. So couple that, last year we got a big win with John Deere working with the state, bringing cotton harvesters back to Lafourche Parish, actually bringing jobs from China back to Louisiana and right here in Lafourche Parish. So those have been really good. So you couple that, occupational license growth, big partnerships with the state through capital outlay. We're well over $40 million in capital outlay across the parish and all the entities. So those have been really good. We launched this financial transparency page so people could actually see where that money was going. So if you click on our website, you can drill down into vendors. So if you don't know how much we're paying for garbage or street paving or whatever, you can see that now. And from a financial stability point, we're doing really good. I think the council approved the budget a month ago. We're right about $230 million budget next year. Some of that is IDA dollars that we bonded out to fix projects, but overall we're well over $200 million in a budget now. And thinking back to those days when we had a $30 and $60 million budget, seeing how much we've grown and the economic growth there has done really well. So it's an awesome job. I'm really happy we get to do it for another 4 years. Proud to bring our team back with a few new council members and our sitting councilman. So it's going to be a really cool next 4 years, and I think we're going to expand on a lot of these projects as we look toward carbon capture and all the other fun stuff that we see coming down the road, and just additional partnerships. So we're gonna do some really cool stuff.
I think people hear the Green New Deal stuff, and that's one thing. That's like pie in the sky stuff. But there's some real opportunities to do alternative energy investments down here that we can diversify our economy, carbon sequestration, which is like the same employment base. It's not like you're bringing new companies in. It's allowing them to diversify what they do and kind of keep working down here in the parish.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So, we look toward those new industries and what the next 4 years are going to look like. But we wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year, and we'll get cranking.
Y'all are doing a great job. We appreciate you having you on, updating us on what's going on in Lafourche Parish. And that concludes us for Bayou Time. Please tune in next week for Bayou Time.